Most of the buildings clustered around Tennessee's capital have historic designation. But one of them, the Cordell Hall building here, was almost torn down. The building is named after the Tennessean who, as Secretary of State, won a Nobel Peace Prize while helping form the United Nations. But a consultant hired by the state decades later recommended demolition. Cordell Hall, the building, began showing its age after 50-something years as state offices. Its downtown land could bring top price, but then a brief conversation changed everything. The conversation happened almost 4 years ago, just before the second inaugural of current Governor Bill Haslam. House Speaker Beth Harwell, sitting next to Senate Speaker Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey, said this.
And I leaned over to Ron Ramsey, and I was sitting up there kind of surveying and never really paid any attention. I looked over and I went, wow. And I leaned over and I said, rather than spending a fortune trying to renovate the Legislative Plaza, let's look at the renovation that's going to be taking place over in Cordell Hall regardless, and see if that can't be turned into a legislative building, which is in fact what we did.
The old legislative space where lawmakers used to hunker down in windowless offices under War Memorial Plaza had become moldy, leaky, and non-compliant with federal disabilities law. With its glistening marble walls, often cited as reasons to save it, the Cordell Hall building was repurposed as legislative offices and committee rooms.
With a little energy and effort, we've made it into a really good office space that's very accessible to the public.
The Art Deco 1940s building next door to Cordell Hall has not fared as well. It's closed for now. Like the old legislative offices, mold got to the John Sevier building, but its occupant, the State Attorney General's office, will be back next year after the building is also refurbished.
Those buildings that aren't historic, let them be renovated to meet the next century's desires, but I think these historical buildings have a real role to play.
That's why work seemingly goes on constantly on various Capitol Hill buildings. It's a far cry from 60 years ago when decrepit dwellings crept up Capitol Hill, but their demolition was welcomed as historic buildings above them were preserved. Reporting from the state capitol, Chris Bundgaard.